Good morning, all my fast, fleet, full throttle patriots. Out of all the Brandon administration's many failures, this just might be the least widely reported on. Take a look at this from the Washington Times. Illegal immigration ticks up. Really? It's only ticking up? DHS border numbers show worst November on record. That's right. But before we get into the story itself, take a look at this picture. I'm going to ask your eye to go across the river there and take a look at that gap in the fence, because I think when I call up my next story, it shows the same gap taken from across the river on the American side of the border, but I think it's showing the same gap. Let's go on with this story just a little bit, though. The Brandon administration oversaw the worst November on record for illegal border activity, with Customs and Border Protection recording nearly 174,000 encounters with illegal immigrants. Whoa! Now, isn't it funny that this propaganda outlet actually calls them illegal immigrants? Let's go on to that next paragraph. That's more than twice what was recorded in November 2020 and more than 5 times the rate from November 2019, both of which were under President Trump. So, President Trump also had problems with the border, which the press was more than willing to report on, but at least President Trump was trying to do something. If President Trump had not been stopped from returning to office, I guarantee you that hole in the border wall would not be there right now. November's numbers also showed an uptick of 5% compared to October. Usually, illegal border crossings decline at that point as the cold weather and holiday season begin to tamp down on activity. So, the illegal aliens want to spend Christmas and New Year's with their family before crossing the border illegally. That is understandable. Let's go on to our next story. See what I mean? Wouldn't you swear this is that same hole in the border? You can't tell exactly, but I kind of think it is. The hole looks like it's about the same size, and it's from the American side. But this headline starts out with, "Extreme heat is making U.S.-Mexico border crossings even more dangerous." This is from Gizmodo. A study found that the risk of deadly dehydration will only increase on a common border crossing route. Oh dear, those poor illegals. Let's see what they're talking about. Dehydration is already a leading cause of death among migrants crossing the border from Mexico to the U.S., and conditions will become worse as the climate continues to warm. Oh, they got it too far. Not only are they talking about those poor illegal immigrants, they're talking about that nasty climate change and how it's going to affect those poor illegal immigrants unfairly. We provide the first empirical evidence that the physiological stresses experienced by humans attempting to cross the Sonoran Desert into the U.S. are sufficient to cause severe hydration and associated conditions that can lead to death. Well, here's a news flash for you. Gizmodo, legacy media, national propaganda outlets. If you're not trying to cross the border illegally, you don't have to worry about dehydration and death crossing the Sonoran Desert. Our borders aren't closed. We allow immigration. You can apply for immigration. In fact, so if you're in Mexico right now, why do you want to cross the border illegally? You know you can just go to any consulate or the U.S. Embassy and apply for immigration status. Or if you're fleeing and seeking asylum, you can apply for asylum status there. I know, shocking, isn't it? They don't want to do things legally. They don't want to wait for the long and lengthy process. And yes, I know it can be extremely long and lengthy. My wife's Korean. Her brother and the rest of his family immigrated to the U.S. legally. They applied and had to wait years before the U.S. approved for them to come to the U.S. These illegals do not want to go through the legal process. That is why they're called illegals. They want to skip to the head of the line. I would say that seeing how these people want to skip to the line, these illegals, these rule breakers, most of them, a lot of them at least, are not coming to work. They're coming to suck off the tits of society. They want the free goodies that the U.S. has. Now, the Brandon administration thinks of these illegal crossings as a hot potato, and so good old Brandon, he tossed the hot potato to Camel Toe, and Camel Toe, well, she dropped it a long time ago. So instead of the press reporting on the Brandon administration's failure, they're just going to shovel shit on it to cover it up.